John McMullen and Jody McDonald, a.k.a. Mac and Mac, hanging with you on Birds 365. Appreciate everybody who streamed in this morning. While you're at it, do your boys a favor, hit the like button, help us with our algorithm a little bit. If you're going to be coming back all year long for Birds coverage when it really gets underway in New England 10 days from now, we'll be here for you. We'll be here for us, too. Hit the like button. Give us a little acknowledgement. All right. Or as Roman Reigns would say, acknowledge us. McMullen and McDonald, I got a punter question for you because we know the Eagles have none as of right now, John. They got to get somebody to punt between now and next Sunday when they go to New England. I did check the cut wire. No name jumped out at me. Punters got cut, but they're nameless, faceless guys. Shame on me for not knowing their name or their faces, but they are.
Well, nobody cares about them. That's why.
And certainly the Eagles we're going to hold hand with the Eagles on this one and sing Kumbaya because we might not know them. Apparently they don't care. But they have to do something. One guy who I thought would potentially shake out who they could grab was the kid from Pittsburgh who was a former Jet, Braden Mann. He kicked for the Jets. The Steelers claimed him last year. There was rumor out there that the Eagles claimed him at the same time, but the Steelers got him. So I said, all right, let me see who the other Steeler punter is. They kept two punters.
Yeah.
The Eagles kept none. The Steelers kept two. And as much as we know the Eagles will be getting a punter, it's almost as obvious that the Steelers have to move a punter. Now, I'm sure they're trying to trade one of the two and get some draft capital for them because when push comes to shove, they got areas of need too. And you sure as hell don't need two punters on your 53-man roster. What do you think they're going to ask for Howie Roseman? Because
I would think nothing more than a seventh. But, I don't know if the Eagles even want to do that. I mean, that's what I brought up with Olivia. They were very strong-worded behind the scenes that, hey, Aaron might be back, which I don't think would go over well, needless to say, with the fan base. There's a website I use for punters. It's called Puntalytics or whatever. But they say that ex-Saints punter Blake Gillikin would be the best available of the group that was, I guess, lost out or let go. I don't know much about Blake Gilligan.
How did you got any grasp on how they come up with
no idea. No idea. But they pay more attention than I do. And everybody's, Matt arises that everybody wants to bring up the so-called punt god. I don't know if the Eagles want to go down that route.
No, but we're bringing a guy who got suspended from the league for a year for being stupid enough to bet NFL games. But we don't want to pick up a guy who was allegedly involved in some bad behavior, but was proven to not be even around when stuff went down. If there's one team in the league that would take a chance out of me, you would think.
Well, I always say, well, there's more to that story. That's the problem. A lot of people say, I mean, he admitted doing some things. He just wasn't around for the alleged
assault,
rape. And that was proven because they had video. But he's acknowledged that he was with the girl who was underage and all that kind of stuff. So there's still some ugly stuff. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the Eagles contradict themselves all the time. I mean, just Howie Roseman contradicted himself in the same press conference, whether it's as simple as preseason or their assessment that, hey, so-and-so deserves a second chance and so-and-so, we don't want to deal with that. I mean, I've always said you either believe in second chances or you don't. For the most part, the Eagles have agreed to give second chances to players they know and players that they're involved with. And then it's sort of pick and choose with outside. Obviously, Michael Vick would be the most notable, but that's a very talented player. In other words, if what went on with Josh Sills went on and he wasn't part of the Eagles, I'm not sure he'd be here. But he was with the Eagles and they got to know him and they gave him the second chance. And by the way, he got waived and
I was going to say, not the
on the practice
yesterday.
squad. But I don't think anybody's going to claim him after what went on. So I expect him to be back. But yeah, they're hypocritical, as most people are, to be honest. Most teams are. They give second chance. Andrew Brand always calls it, the more the talent, the more the tolerance. But that's typically the test for most teams. A guy like Deshaun Watson, there was never any doubt Deshaun Watson was going to be back somewhere because of how gifted he was. No matter other than he went to jail, he was going to be back because he's got too much talent. Might be untoward, but that's just the way it is.
All right. Another question I have for you. We'll put special teams aside for a second because we're both.
The Eagles do. We might as well put them aside.
Exactly. The Eagles kept the disparity. We use the phrase all the time here on Birds 365. I use it around the radio forever. That the Eagles build everything from the trenches out. Think inside first, then go outside. And that is both the offensive and the defensive line. But the disparity between the offense and the defensive line is kind of shocking in that they kept 13 defensive linemen and only 9 offensive linemen. And in any configuration you have, there's 5 offensive linemen. There's no shortchanging an offensive lineman. So the Eagles don't even have a backup for every position on the offensive line. Oh, but they got extras on the defensive side. So that did surprise me, borderline befuddled me a little bit. If Jason Kelce takes a bad step on somebody's ankle and he's got to get rewrapped in the middle of the game, I'm not even talking about missing an entire game, but a portion of a game, somebody's got to go in and snap the football. And we all assume it's going to be Cam Jurgens moving back from guard to center for whatever that short period of time is. Who's moving into Jurgens' spot when he gets back into center if Kelce misses time? Just giving it to Steen because that was the supposed
I would not just give it to Steen. It might be Jack Driscoll. By the time the regular season starts, you might see Zach being the backup on essentially. You might see what they did last year with it was, Jack was sort of the backup for the right side. Andre Dillard was the backup for the left side. It might be Fred Johnson's the backup for the left side this year. Jack's the backup for the right side. But yeah, it could certainly be Jack Driscoll when the regular season starts. I don't know if Tyler Steen's ready, but I mean, yeah, Cam's the backup center, though. I mean, the only question is they don't have anybody else, so he's the backup center. So the only question is who moves in to guard,
right?
And yeah, right now, if I had to bet, I'd probably say they'd lean the veteran because they already know Jack can do it. And let Tyler sort of continue to learn, but that's just speculation. Tyler Steen, every time they've done it in training camp, it's been Tyler Steen. But remember, they're trying to teach him the position. He didn't play the position before. So when Cam has been at center, he's been at right guard for every snap. But they know what Jack can do, and they know he can already play the position.
No, and we hope that kind of like Marcus Mariota is here, and you hope to never see him, that Jalen Hurts takes every snap, all 17 games. The only time Marcus gets in there is the handoff when Eagles are up by 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Same thing with Jason Kelce. You hope that he snaps the ball every single snap, and he's got a better track record of it than Jalen Hurts does because Jalen has missed at least one game each of the last 2 years. Kelce doesn't miss, so you got to hope that that's the case so they can just leave Beef Jerky at guard and let him continue to grow there. I ran this by Olivia as well, and I didn't get an updated comment from you. Jalen Hurts is going to play quarterback for the Eagles, right? Because we don't seem to discuss him much here on Birds 365. How And I don't think we're making a mistake or doing a disservice to Jalen Hurts, but it's just flat out weird that we're starting a season. We're only days away from a season getting underway, and we don't discuss the guy who was the runner-up for the MVP in the National Football League.
Yeah, we never talked. It was Jalen Hurts 365. Then it became Bijan Robinson 365. Now it's Birds 365 again because nobody talks about. Yeah, I mean, he deserves the benefit of the doubt. Look, I think it's going to be more difficult this season than last season for a number of reasons. I don't think, the offensive line is as good without Isaac. Hopefully Cam can develop, and I think he looks good. I'm not concerned about it, but I think it's probably not good to assume he's going to be as good as Isaac was last year. And the depth, Fred Johnson's a great story, but he's not Andre Dillard. That's not even close. That you talked about the disparity. The disparity exists between the offensive and defensive fronts because the defensive front is much deeper than the offensive line. The five guys are good, and I include Cam in that. I think he's going to be good, just not as good as Isaac right away. But the backups after Jack, and we've seen, I mean, there's still going to be a significant down play if Jack Driscoll's forced to play because you can't replace Lane Johnson. You can't replace these all pro level players. So the depth is not quite as good. The schedule's more difficult. And then we talked about all the career years. Everybody last year was pretty special. Typically, I know somebody said he thinks this is the best roster. Might have been McLean thinks this is the best roster Howie's ever put together. Boy, I don't think it's as good as last year's on paper.
Not on the defensive side of the ball.
And
I understand they couldn't keep Hargrave because he was going to get paid, and San Francisco paid him. If they didn't, somebody else would. And the Eagles had to let him go. But and we just believe that the guys they're bringing in there are going to be better. But until they do it, you're still evaluating the roster with a first-year player and a second-year player out of Georgia who haven't really produced anything on the field in the National Football League. Jordan Davis does his job, and that's to take up two blockers, but there isn't a big accumulation of production from him. And until he actually plays a game, you're just projecting with the number 9 pick in the draft.
Yeah, and I mean, I love Carter. You know that.
So do I. We both do, but he hasn't played it down yet in the game that counts.
No. Yeah, right. And Xander says Angelo Cataldi said it was the best of his career on Dan Cilio's show. So, yeah, I think last year's now coming into last season, we didn't know how good that roster was. So maybe at the beginning you say, well, I didn't feel this way. But now we have the benefit of hindsight and saying, I don't see how they can be as good as last year's team, other than to get better on special teams. And I don't, could you be the number 2 offense or the number 1 offense? Yes. Could you be the number 1 defense? Yes, that's possible. Is it likely? I wouldn't bet on it. So yeah, I mean, 5 starters on defense, not as much upheaval on the offense. But again, are you going to assume Cam Jurgens, who's never played right guard, is going to be better than Isaac Seumalo, who was a Pro Bowl alternate last season? I believe belonged in the Pro Bowl, to be honest. And Miles, I mean, are you going to assume this amalgamation of running backs is going to produce the way Miles Sanders did last season? I guess it's possible, but again, I wouldn't bet on it. Yeah, I think last year was a deeper team. So there's going to be more hiccups, but I don't question Jalen Hurts any longer. And everybody brings up, JAKIB Sports here, occasionally clips our quotes and puts them up. And I got like 4 people again this week. I get it constantly because I said, and this is back in, the off season of 20, whenever, when the Eagles were trying to get Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson to consider them.
Yep.
I said Jalen Hurts will never become what Kyler Murray was at the time. And by the way, Kyler Murray was coming off a heck of a season. Wasn't outrageous at the time by any stretch of the imagination. But people put it out there today, like I said it yesterday, and anybody who watches this show knows, hey, I was wrong about Jalen Hurts. Now, there's a lot of fans who can't admit they were wrong about Jalen Hurts because they say, oh, no, I knew he was going to be the runner-up to MVP. No, you didn't.
Nobody.
And if you did, you're just blindly loyal to the Eagles, and you could have inserted any name that was playing quarterback for your favorite team. But he has, since that time, he has gone on to prove himself to the point where I don't question Jalen Hurts. And I say it all the time. He might be a better quarterback this year, and the Eagles might not win as many games. That is very, very possible. But I don't question Jalen Hurts anymore.
He has become just an afterthought because of the season that he had last year, because he elevated his game as much as he did. We just don't concentrate on him as much as we did. We will as soon as the game starts being played, because then the quarterbacks take back over and they are front and center on almost every single conversation. All right, we got just a minute or two before Eric at home's going to join us. Practice squad going to be named today. First, you go through the waiver claim at noon. You find out by 1 o'clock who you do or did or didn't get. If you put in a claim, whether you got the guy or not. If you get a claim, then you got to cut somebody from your 53. So then you're going to have your full 53-man roster, and then you can fill out your whole practice squad. What is the practice squad going to look like? Is it just a given that it's going to be out of 16 players, 15 guys that were cut here? Do you think the Eagles will be scouring anybody else's roster to offer them a practice squad?
Yeah, there's always 1 or 2 that they bring in from outside, but the vast majority is going to be guys who were just released and waived, and they're going to bring them back. 13, 14 are going to be guys that just come right back, haven't left. Will be at practice because they know they're going to clear waivers. The vast majority. And, the Devin Allens of the world, Britton Covey's, they need, as we said, they need bodies. Julian Good-Jones, if you want to talk about an offensive lineman, is just going down the list. Obviously, Garner at cornerback, if he gets through waivers, he'll be back.
How about Josh Sills?
Josh, I think, will be back. I'm just going down the list. Kyron Johnson, I think, will be back. Joseph Nada, I think, will be back. If they can get Janarius Robinson through waivers, I think he'll be back. Brady Russell will definitely be back, the tight end. His uncle is Matt Russell. He's the Eagles' senior director of personnel. Aaron Cepas, the Eagles admitted he might be back on the practice squad. Ben Van Sumeren's a given. Greg Ward, it's his birthright to be on the practice squad. So most of them.
But you only, just one quick clarification on the practice squad. Correct me if I'm wrong. Only 6 veterans, right?
I think
of the 16 guys.
I think it's 4.
I think it's 6. I think you have 6.
I'll double check.
I think you have 10 of the 16 have to be rookies and or second-year guys.
Yeah.
And when we say veterans, that's the cutoff. Once you're a third-year player, you're a veteran. So I think the split is 6 and 10. I think you can have 6 veterans. And most of those fell into the category of perfectly fine. They're young enough. But a couple of those guys, like Sills is a third-year guy now, right? Oh no, he was a rookie last
Second
year.
year. Yeah.
He's a second year, so
He's
he'd be a
fine.
young
He's
guy.
fine either way. But they'll bring in a couple outsiders, and that probably won't be there today. So, but the vast majority are going to be guys they just released. You're right. It's 6. It's not 4. So it is 6 with no limitations on experience. I don't think the Eagles will keep 6 veterans on the practice squad. It is still more for younger players, and they still look at it that way.
Is Sippus a veteran?
Yeah, Aaron would be in that category. They're going to work out punters today, and if they like somebody better, Aaron is probably gone. But they bent over backwards to say, look, if we don't like somebody better, we're just going to put him on the practice squad and elevate him probably for the first 3 weeks, and then decide at that point whether it's going well. And if it's going well, he'll be back on the roster. I know that's not what Eagles fans want to hear, but there is a window open for him coming back, and Howie admitted that.
And that's what they have to deal with as of today. All right. We're going to take a timeout here. Then you're going to come back and hear from more Mac and Mac. I just got a text from Eric at home who just reached out to me and said, I so greatly apologize. He just got info on a story that he's got to write for NFL.com. He was certainly planning on coming on with us, but he's right in the middle of, I don't know if it's breaking news or whatever, but it's a story that he got hit with. So he's got to take care of that for NFL.com. So you get that much more Mac and Mac. John McMullen, Jody McDonald sticking around for more Birds 365.